Namaskar. I welcome you to this lecture series of OUSRHH, Organization of Unearthing Suppressed Realities of Hindustani History. And today, I have picked up a topic which you may ask, why under Hindustani history? Because this burning topic has its impact on India very much. And I hope that the younger generation of my country knows the real facts behind it, rather than going by the propagation of the Western media. And the topic is Russia-America war in Ukraine. Yes, I call it Russia-America war, not a Ukraine war. Because Ukraine is only a tool. When it started, at that time only I had said, okay, what Americans are doing is they are pumping up Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, and pumping it not with a cycle pump. They are pumping air into him the way we put air into a car tires by that machine. Shoo! So this man is up. We'll go into the history a little bit. We'll go into what's happening and what is going to be the futuristic analysis in this regard. All of you remember that Soviet Union disintegrated. And after that disintegration, it was assumed that the ideological Cold War, which had been going on since long, except for a brief break during the Second World War, will end now. But what happened? Instead of ending, today we find that this war is no more cold. It's very hot, extremely hot, and being fought in the most severe form in Ukraine, and one never knows where it will go again. After the fall of USSR, there was no need for NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which had been made under American dominance by certain European countries, to check USSR, because they always thought that USSR is a threat to Europe and it has to be checked via NATO's military program. Now, instead of disbanding NATO when its need was no more, these powers started expanding NATO. There was a time when even Russia pleaded that make me a member of NATO. But they refused. And then kept on expanding the NATO members. And a prime reason for that was not so much the Russian threat, but for America establishing its control over these countries, as you will see further when I elaborate this in my lecture. Then what started? They started arming the breakaway states of Soviet Union and Ukraine, a very potential area, in terms of agriculture, wheat production. In terms of energy, it has its largest European plant of nuclear energy. So why not control this country? And the Americans started investing them. They have brought thousands of hectares of land to control the wheat production there. They were establishing labs over there, suspected to be for biological aspects. The NATO supervisors were training Ukrainian army, and what was happening in the eastern parts of Ukraine, that there is a Russian ethnicity over there, Russian people also. The language is still Russian. And perhaps you don't know that after the debacle of USSR, even today, the Ukrainians never needed a visa to go to Russia. They can go and do work over there. This was the common thing, and that's why Putin has been saying again and again, okay, they are brothers. But for these eastern regions, Ukraine adopted a policy of suppressing the people there of Russian origin, and that led to certain terrorist activities there. Russia had been raising that a lot, but no attention was paid. And in the midst of this, Zelensky comes with a thing that he wants membership of NATO. So now imagine that NATO on the western side of Russia, and then NATO on this southern side. Russia considered it as a major threat. And why not? I'll give you an example. Very recently, China sent one of its nuclear and that monitoring, space monitoring, spying ship to Sri Lanka to harbor over there. And we protested very strongly. Okay, this affects our defense system to Sri Lanka. And for some time Sri Lanka agreed also, but then things changed. Because every country looks at its own defense and security, not just economy. I'll give you another example. I'm totally against China, because China is today the biggest money lender and land grabber and warmonger and a biological weapons person in the world. But if China tries to control a small island in Pacific Sea, the Americans sitting thousands of miles from there shout, our security is in danger. So when your security can be in danger this way, so if Russia said that my security is in danger right at my border if the NATO moves in there, or if Ukraine takes a NATO membership, was Russia wrong? No. Kept giving warnings. And Zelensky said, no, we have to join NATO, we have to join European Union. Well, there's a difference between European Union and NATO, because European Union can only be an economic treaty or administrative governance treaty, but NATO means a military alliance. And the Americans did it. But why? Because you know, till date, they have only armed Ukraine. They have sent their mercenary soldiers there to fight. But they have not taken Ukraine into NATO, which was the core issue. And this war could have stopped. Once it could have been said, okay, NATO doors are not open to Ukraine, the matter would have ended. But no, it was escalated. And why escalated? There are different other economic reasons behind it. German economy has been growing. The euro was higher than the dollar. The pound was higher than the dollar. And there's a Rand Corporation report which was submitted by that Rand Corporation, which is a multinational big corporation in America. The title of that report was German Economy, submitted to CIA, which the Rand Corporation denies, but this was published by a Swiss, leaked out and published by a Swiss, sorry, not Swiss, this Norwegian newspaper, I think. The report is there. in which it is secretly told to the CIA that the German economy is growing, which is a threat for US economy. The gist of that is this. And we have to do something to stop this growth of German economy. Remember here one thing, that the German industry, German technology, the German brain are very powerful. Their education system. So what way to do this? What way to save the dollar against the euro? And this was also a period that many European countries' relations with America on trade, on certain other economic issues were not very good. And they were taking a different stand than what America wanted them to take. And in this situation is created the Ukraine crisis. Look at the double standards within this UK crisis. Well, Americans and Britishers particularly, are known for creating massacres world over. And who knows better than us in India the massacres which British did. Now they started calling Putin. I'll go one by one on what they said. That he is attacking civilians and civilian buildings, as if in any previous war in the world, the British, Americans or the French had never attacked any civilian targets. Forget the civilian targets. I can give you examples after examples. That on 25th September 1945, the soldiers of Azad Hind Fauj who had surrendered, who were kept as prisoners of wars in the Neelganj camp, in one night, more than 2,000 were shot at. There were about 1,700 soldiers who after the Second World War had surrendered, were caught by these British and French forces and taken to near the Swiss border, kept in a cinema hall for 2 days without food and water, and then all shot dead. These were Indians. And if you look at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, how millions of innocents were murdered by the atom bomb. What was the need? The war was already ending. And in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there were no soldiers. There were the old people there, the children there, the women there, the innocents. So for me, the first war criminal in this world must be that American president who ordered the invention of atom bomb. For me, the second war criminal is the American president who ordered 2 atom bombs on Japan. That too without warning, because today there is a lot being talked. Okay, Russia will atom bomb or Ukraine will use the dirty bomb, and all that is being talked, and everybody is preparing for an atomic war. But at that time, Japan was not given any warning. And this happened. And what they call, they have a very funny word, collateral damage, to justify their own any actions of brutality which these powers take. And as a result, after that started the race for atomic bombs. They talk of peace, they talk of human rights. but they will go on establishing, making the arms of destruction. Now also there is a question here, why? You all know American economy depends a lot on its armament industry. And that's why they create war zones in different parts of the world. And how these war zones are created, what goes on? I simply hold America responsible for that, backed by the British government. And I would like to say here that those who think that if the Ukraine war ends, there will be no war, are living in a fool's paradise. Because already 7 war zones are almost active. You look at Armenia, Uzbekistan, you look at Turkey with Kurds, Syria, etc. You look at Israel, Iran, you look at Taiwan, China, you look at North Korea, America, South Korea, you look at some African countries, and you look at Indochina and Indo-Pakistan. And why they want to keep these zones active? Knowing fully well that it will lead to war and destruction. Because the American armament industry and American economy flourishes on that. And let me point out here, America is one such country which has never cared for human lives. Those who settled in America, what did they have done to the local population there? They had shot them like ducks. All these adventurers, looters had gone to Americas for making a big money. Someone found a gold mine. Someone started a bank, brought in railways, did their business, looted American resources, and one fine morning they decide, why should we send a share of this loot to back home to our country? So they decide, American War of Independence at a tea party in Boston, and create a country based purely on economic considerations. The American nation has no cultural heritage. It has no ancient history of what is created today as America. It has no ancient values that certain other civilizations have. And American nationalism is purely based on economy, economic nationalism. And they are challenging Russia, Russian nationalism, which they have not been able to understand what Russian nationalism is. Today the Russians, even who had disagreed with Putin at a time, stand behind the Russian nation and Putin. And what this armament lobby does, where I say they have no care for human lives, you look at America's internal condition. Every year, thousands die there of gunfire. You have seen school children being killed. You have seen people being killed in malls. And they say, oh, it was some senile person who did it. But they are not prepared to control the gun selling laws over there. Why? So which are freely available, go and shoot anyone. They won't control that. They won't regulate that. Because armament sales is a big business there. Look at the other aspect. They claim they are democracy, they care for human rights, they care for civil liberties. And just look at the regimes Russia has supported world over. They have always supported a military dictatorship in Pakistan. On the one hand, Biden says it's a rogue state, and on the other hand, keeps arming Pakistan. And you must have heard the latest, that the Ukrainian scientists going to Pakistan to get bomb technology, A-bomb technology and atom bomb from Pakistan, which I had predicted 1 year back, that the only way Pakistan has to save its economy, that they will sell their atom bomb either to the terrorists or to some rogue state, which they are doing now, because donkey selling to China won't bring them more money. That's what they're doing. Every dictatorship in the world, supporting Saudi Arabia. I was shocked when I found that Saudi Arabia has been made the chairman of the UN Human Rights Commission. And what America did in Iraq? Where are those biological weapons of Saddam? Where is that atomic program of Saddam? Which they shouted. What they did in Vietnam. I still remember as a kid having seen that Vietnamese small girl in flames by the napalm bombs which were banned by UN. What did they do there? And who created Islamic fanatic movement in the world today? Who created Taliban? Americans in league with Pakistan. And today they are in hand in glove with Taliban. These champions of human liberties and civil liberties threw the Afghan people who had supported them to the Taliban walls, settled an agreement and withdrew. And not just withdrew, they gifted Taliban with millions and dollars of modern armament, which a defeated withdrawing army also doesn't do. They either take it back, their ammunition, armament, or they destroy it. One has not forgotten the pictures of evacuation from Kabul airport. How those poor people, the believers of democracy and fundamental rights and liberties, had rushed to the airport to rescue themselves, because they know that what a brute rule is coming on them. And now today America hobnobs with Taliban, that Taliban will go and support Ukraine and fight for them against Russia. This is the third danger coming to the world. No one is talking of Al-Qaeda or ISI as today. No one is looking at Turkey, what the Turkey is doing, which has emerged as another weapon supplier of drones and everything today, and supplying to everyone and making money. And having dreams to create the Ottoman Empire. Again, you will see what will happen in Europe. It's just a question of time. Because every terrorist in the world has a base in Turkey or Pakistan, which manufactures, finances, trains, and exports terrorism world over. But still America will give them F-15 against India. Still their FTF restrictions will be removed and they will be given more loans. That is the American policy. And with this policy, They want to create these war zones. Today, European economy is ruined. And two major crises which are coming. The food crisis in Europe and the energy and gas crisis in Europe. I'll come to that. But before this, which I took in my other lecture, I want to tell you one thing, that economic sanctions were laid on Russia. But many of the NATO countries are still doing trade with Russia. And the Russian economy ruble has gone up. And Americans themselves won't stop the trade. Hats off to Indian Foreign Minister Dr. S. Shankar, who gave a big buff to the Americans. Not once but twice, and that too in their land only. Once when they said that you don't buy oil from Russia, he said what we buy in a month, your allies buy in a day, stop them fast. And then in relation to supply of parts and these F-15 things to Pakistan, he says we know what is happening. This kind of reply which India has given is a very strong reply, which Americans will not be able to digest. I don't rule out they activating their CIA and all to dislodge the present government in India. Anyway, thank you very much. I'll continue with the economic and the gas issues related to that of food and gas in my next lecture. Namaskar. Thank you.